Warning, this podcast will probably feature spoilers for many, many episodes of Doctor Who.
My level of foresight is amazing. So
Foresight in what?
yeah, I'm the only one in my dorm right now because I'm the one that gets back the earliest.
Yeah.
And there was a rock star in the fridge
Nice.
that I had put there like probably a month ago to the day, and it's still good. And I'm just like,
in preparation for this moment.
yeah, we hadn't even thought about the
Nice.
podcast. I hadn't thought about Doctor Who in months, yet I knew like I would need this for something.
Nice.
Ooh.
Rad.
I have my water and I have popped my ibuprofen.
Moisturize me, daddy.
I have
well,
these big
that's-
ass 600 milligram ibuprofens left over from when I was in a car crash, so that's what I'm snacking on.
All right. Well, that's the intro. That's the intro cold open for this episode. Thanks.
Bless.
This is why I started the recording early, because I knew something like this was gonna happen, and I'm like, I need to get audio for the cold open.
You're listening to the Back to the TARDIS podcast, a retrospective podcast discussing every episode of the ongoing 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. Today's episode is Season 1, Episode 2, The End of the World.
Hello and welcome back to the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we go through every single episode of the 2005 revival of Doctor Who. I'm Jeff.
I'm Skyler.
I'm Avery.
And today we're talking about the episode The End of the World. Although, I have a little fun thing before we get into that. So I did a little bit more research upon a novelization of the last episode, Rose, that Russell T Davies published in 2018. So, Skyler, last week you mentioned if you were going to ever George Lucas one thing, some scenes in that episode would be it. Russell T Davies has literally done exactly that.
Bless.
So there's apparently, so when Rose goes to visit Clive, he shows her pictures of more incarnations, including, because this was in 2019, 13. So 13 is mentioned in an episode, in a novelization of a 9 episode, which is great. He also has 2 pictures of possible future doctors, including, quote, a tall, bald black woman wielding a flaming sword and a young girl or boy in a high-tech wheelchair with what looked like a robot dog at their side.
Amazing.
Oh boy. Representation. Yeet.
Also, Mickey is in a band, which is of course called Bad Wolf.
I've heard of this. Isn't there a trans
Yes.
person in that band?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, who's living in, and Mickey is housing her in his flat because she has nowhere else to go, further proving that Mickey is a Chad.
Mickey is the real homie, and Rose is just out here, fucking ditching him all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Also, there's, I believe, a minor joke about... So you know how there's the running joke when they introduced Donna about how she just, like, missed all the alien shit? There is a joke about her missing the Auton invasion.
I love that.
Also...
Was she just smoked to fuck out?
No, she was just asleep.
Naturally.
So, So the other thing, one more thing. Where is it? Oh, in the last episode, we made a joke about how Clive is very disturbingly, unceremoniously murdered by a bunch of Autons. In the book, he dies too, but he deliberately holds them off so his family can escape. So
Way to go.
good job, Clyde. Good job. All right. Moving on to this week's episode, The End of the World. So fun little story about this episode too. So you know how we were making jokes last week about how terrible the CGI was, and like the CGI in this episode like isn't great by today's standards, but it's a lot better.
A majority of the season's budget or series, whatever, went to this episode. So
yeah, they blew the budget on this episode.
Really? That makes sense. I can see that. It
Yeah.
still looks like PS3 graphics, but
But they blew the budget on this episode, and as of 2011, there has not been an episode that has had more CGI shots than this episode.
Oh, yeah, I can kind of see
I
that.
would not have guessed that.
'Cause,
I mean, I don't know if they've done more, if there's been one that's had more since then, especially considering the 50th specials. But I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, the thing is, this episode, like, I'm pretty sure the entire space station, its sets are, like, all CGI is the thing.
No, the sets are real. Any exterior shot is CGI. Any shot that has a window in it has CGI in it because of the sun
planet.
and the earth.
Cassandra's CGI.
Sort of. I think there might be. Well, she's CGI on top of. I think like the skin piece was there as like a practical, but then the face was CGI.
That's the impression I got looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah. The spiders are CGI.
Of course.
They probably also blew a lot
so-
of the budget, not even on the CGI, but on the costumes for everyone.
Yes.
It's the most
Oh
alien.
yeah. This is
aside from like.
Yeah, this is some of the most like lavish aliens we get in the revival series that are like humanoid, just like friendly aliens.
I mean, friendly is a bit of a stretch.
Aside from Cassandra, they're all pretty hospitable.
They're non-hostile.
They're not active. Yeah, they're not hostile.
They're hostile to the class interests of the galaxy, buddy.
All right, moving into the episode proper. So, you have the setting up of they're in the TARDIS and he's, it's in time. Let's go forward in time. And I like that there's the touch of them they keep pushing forward until they eventually get to the end of the world. Roll intro credits.
I also like the little the mentions of what happens. 22nd century, not that interesting, but the year 12,005, New Roman Empire. That's some good shit.
Yeah.
I also like the him piloting the TARDIS in this. It's a very like
yes.
It's like very mechanical. It's like a weird mix of organic and mechanical. It feels like he's like It's very physical the way he's piloting it. It's not like the pushing a button, pulling a lever. It's very like he's yanking and pulling and like twisting, and he's playing with a fucking bop it. That's what he's doing.
It feels old.
And 9, 10, and 11, and to I think somewhat of a lesser extent 13 all do this, where they're very sort of physical and active, and 10 will run around the console and mess with stuff. And I think one of the other things is this episode is really, I think, the first to highlight on. I can't remember if 8's TARDIS in the TV movie was like this, but I'm just going to assume that it wasn't. I believe 9's TARDIS is the first one. 9 and 10's TARDIS is the first one where you get the sense that like he's just brought in random pieces of tech and jury-rigged it in to replace faulty controls, which I think is brilliant. And I think they kind of did away with that a little with 12's, which was a bit of a letdown. Although it's back in spades with 13.
Yeah, 11's.
I would say more like 11's was very sort of.
No,
11's
11's original still had a lot of that found stuff, but then 11's second one
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. 11's second
Yeah.
one, which was very sleek and stuff.
There are a few episodes.
11's first one was too cool to live because from what I remember, the really nice the glass blown kind of ornament that they had for the time rotor, they risked breaking it every single time they ran it.
I mean, it was a very elaborate set piece. It looked like really cool in action. The pumping columns and stuff. Yeah.
Whereas you can very clearly tell that in 9 and 10 Stardust, it's like plastic.
Love it.
Fiberglass or something, which is it's fine. It works.
I mean, yeah, 9 and 10's the limit of his TARDIS is basically there's a few things he can push and pull. Like I said, it's a fucking Boffitt console.
Yeah. So as you get to the space station, there's a line that guests are reminded that Platform 1 forbids the use of weapons, teleportation, and religion.
I love that.
Which, as a UU, I think is slightly a case of not based RTD, because that's just kind of getting into obnoxious Fedora r/atheism atheists.
Yeah, but this was like before that.
I guess, yeah.
This predates that by about like.
Plus, if any
7 or 8 years.
showrunner has a right to be pissed at organized religion, it's RTD.
Yeah, I mean, it is mentioned that it's run by a corporation, so they probably take the stance of no, none of it here. Outside, sure, but in this space, none. Which I'm like,
it would be real nice if our corporations did that.
Yeah, for a throwaway line, it works, but yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah. So yeah, there's this. I like a lot of how this episode, like the TARDIS translator microbes, or taking them to the end of the world. Like if this was a classic series episode, they'd just roll with it. And I think one of the biggest showings about how Doctor Who changed in some ways, I think for the better with the revival, is how Rose questions hey, this translator stuff messes with my head and you didn't ask me, and the part where she's freaked out by the fact that it's the end of the world.
Yeah, and it kind of shows that, I mean, credit to the writing, that her decision to go with him when he asks again is still very much an impulsive one, because she realizes holy crap, this is actually happening. I'm actually in a different time, pretty much for all practical purposes, a different place, and I don't even know him. We just had chemistry, and that's all it took. But
then there isn't really that same level, and I don't think that's necessarily bad for Classic. Classic isn't nearly as character focused, but as someone who's been watching a lot of Classic recently, that's not really a problem. But I think it's a sign of this show's maturation a little.
Yeah.
So then the Doctor flirts with a tree.
No, you're skipping over one of the good lines. You're one of the base lines.
Oh yeah. Based. Hold on. Nobody talk for a second. I'm gonna put an effect in here in post.
Based RTD.
Yes, we've got a
based RTD moment
where they're sort of walking along. And he's basically explaining what's happening. He's like, yeah, we're here to watch the end of the world. And she's like, why would anyone do that? And he's like, for fun. He's like, the great and good are gathering to watch the planet burn. And he says it very straight-faced.
Yeah.
And
then
she's sort of playing the wait, what the fuck? She sort of gets how that's fucked up, and he obviously understands it too, and he's just he's sort of playing with it, and then yes, he has that line where it's and of course, by the great and the good, I mean the rich. So
based.
Yeah.
5 billion years in the future, and nope, people are still rich enough that they blow it away on watching an entire planet fucking burn.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk
and
about...
I think... Yeah. I think they mentioned too, and I missed this, I only got this on this viewing, that the entire reason why the planet was burning was because the charity that was keeping the sun from expanding in on it ran out of money.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
I
It's such a good
missed-
little detail.
I missed that every single time I have seen this episode before. And while I haven't seen this episode as much as I've seen some, I've still rewatched it at least once or twice.
Yeah, that's what I like about, and I think what Doctor Who at its best does is that it's really hopeful and like, yeah, you know, you made it. You didn't blow yourself up like 3,000 years into your history. There's humans out among the stars, but there's still like a lot of problems that don't go away unless you address them.
Yeah.
And the fact that like Earth is here as a relic basically through people conserving it and out of this kind of like, they don't say nostalgia bait type of thing, but that it's like there's a charity keeping it from all this stuff. It
Respect.
Yeah,
Respect for the planet that birthed their race.
Yeah, it's a angle from this episode that I don't really remember. I think a lot of people look back on early Doctor Who and they just remember the effects and some of the corniness, but there's still a lot of good stuff. And again, as we were kind of talking about last episode, it shows, the reason why Doctor Who was successfully brought back is because it was actually good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no. Like, even if it's not character-based, a lot of Classic's best episodes are really thoughtful, in spite of the really dodgy effects.
So yeah, do you want to move on to the horny moment?
Yeah. Well, and I do think the show has never ever done this. It had never done it before, and it's never done it since. But that whole scene where it's like, "Woo! Look at all these fucking aliens, guys!" Like it's the show's Mos Eisley Cantina moment.
Yeah.
And they bring in the trees, which, it's a really good practical effect considering. Like there are some.
Is that all makeup?
It's makeup.
It's
and
mostly
prosthetics.
yeah. It looks mostly prosthetics and makeup. Yeah. Like there's parts where like when she's holding onto the switch later, you can kind of see that like she's wearing like a bodysuit too, because you can see it flex. But the tree head part itself is really good and holds up. Like that's a good practical effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then we meet the scene stealer, who, fun fact, is voiced by the same person who played Madam Hooch in the first 2 Harry Potter films.
I knew this. It's a
I
fun
did not.
little thing.
Yeah. So yeah, they bring in the stretched piece of human skin herself, Cassandra. Which there's some social commentary going on, which I don't entirely know how I feel like it, which is RTD has straight up said that he based Cassandra off of watching like award shows and seeing how like disturbingly thin.
Yeah, it's a weird mix.
Based RTD.
It's a weird mix because you get like the whole like body commentary image, which on one hand I'm like, do what you want to yourself, but on the other hand she's also super racist. So it's like two sides of something that I'm just like, this is an interesting person.
Yeah,
it's not just regular racism, it's future racism.
Yeah. And it's like it's I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Like there's very good stuff, but there's stuff I'm like, well, I don't know. But yeah, I do like the commentary about, like, I feel like if like a future like space racist had that ability, like, yeah, they'd keep themselves alive until they were literally just a stretched piece of skin. Like I do really like the execution of Cassandra, even if I'm a little mixed on the commentary.
Yeah, and the voice actress and technically face actress too, what little they have of her face, is sells
is
it
that
completely.
mocap or is that hand?
What?
Is her animation was it mocapped or was it done by hand? I didn't watch the bonus features for this episode because I didn't have time. But
I know it's based off of her face, but I don't remember if they literally motion captured it or if the animators just took her face as reference.
Okay.
There's definitely parts where it looked like it was CGI'd in.
Well, yeah, it would be CGI'd in.
No, but I mean, like, the face itself was CGI.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's.
Do you want to talk about the horny trees now?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting too because this was like there's shades of it in Rose, like very minorly, but like this was the first time that they like really played up like the Doctor like can and will flirt with people.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that because they're exchanging gifts, and the tree comes up and gives it like, "This is a cutting from my grandfather," and he's just like, "Right, gifts," and fumbles
this is
around
air
a bit.
from my lungs.
And then she's like, "Oh," and he's like, "There's more where that came from." I'm just like, bro.
Yeah, technically, the first Doctor to break the whole celibacy thing was 8, especially in 8 spin-off stuff, but 9 was like the first time since like until I guess really until the Night of the Doctor they didn't really like 100% acknowledge 8. Well, no, they did acknowledge 8 later, but never mind. They hadn't acknowledged 8 at that point, and they hadn't acknowledged Classic at all, and like some people were debating whether or not it was a reboot or a continuation. So yeah, the fact that they did this here is really kind of foreshadowing a difference that they a different path that they took with the reboot.
Yeah.
I also like the next guy that comes up to them, fucking he's just like spits at them as his gift, and it's sort of like it
this hits Rose too. It completely misses 9 and it hits Rose.
In my mind, that guy also forgot a gift and is just like literally spitballing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're lucky that
or maybe
species isn't
because
acidic.
Yeah, maybe he's super rich and he paid someone to make his saliva have like a unique taste or have like pheromones in it or shit.
Yeah. It's weird how they like kind of overplay and underplay that they're rich.
Yeah. I will say hold on.
Can we talk about how there might be slaves?
Yeah, there's definitely that.
That weirded me out.
I don't know if I got the impression that the workers were slaves. It's more just like really fucked up employers, don't talk to the rich guests. Like, yeah, you gotta do whatever the rich people want, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's less slaves and more like really late stage capitalism.
Yeah.
It's more wage slaves than chattel slavery.
Yeah. I suppose the way there was like some like not technobabble, but the way she explained like, where are you from? And it's like, oh, I'm from such and such and such and such thing. I was like, is that like a race where like this is all you do? That it was just like a really confusing moment. It could completely
is this like a Harry Potter house elf situation?
Oh god, oh fuck, J.K. Rowling be like, yeah, slavery is okay if it's magic.
It's okay if they want to be enslaved. Fucking alright. There's our first 2 episodes in, and there's our first making fun of J.K. Rowling moment. Alright.
And many more to come. But.
Yeah, there's a really great gag here where Cassandra's like, I bring a gift of an iPod, and they wheel in a fucking jukebox and it starts playing Tainted Love, and there's this really great like 2-second shot of like 9 jamming out to Tainted Love that I really like.
Well, I like the part before that where she's just like, she brings in an ostrich egg and it says, what does she say about the ostrich egg?
Hold on. I have it right here. Legend says it had a wingspan of 50 feet and blew fire from its nostrils, or was that my third husband?
Nobody laughs, and she does the oh haha don't laugh. You know, she's trying. I think that is like I think you saying that it's based off of like, you know, Hollywood people makes sense now, because like the weird forced jokes about your like ex spouses combined with just like all that
and she says she specifically says don't laugh, I'll get laughter lines. So there's still that vanity.
Yeah. And then I like the line, "My father was a Texan, my mother was from the Arctic desert."
I mean, technically, it does count as a desert in terms of annual precipitation.
Well, no, I think it's supposed to be a joke about climate change.
Yeah.
So,
Based RTD moment.
Based RTD.
Climate change is literally name dropped at the beginning, where it's just like, yeah, you think this might wipe you out, but apparently it didn't.
Well, I'll believe it when I see it.
The jury's still out on that one.
Sorry, RTD. I can't credit you as based yet on that one. So yeah, there's that really nice scene where Rose just kind of realizes, holy shit, I am 500,000 years in the future with someone I do not know.
Yeah.
And are you talking about when she's talking to the servant, or when she's talking with
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of interesting. And then she sort of starts having doubts, and then she goes to talk to him, and, you know, he's just like, oh yeah, you know, like the thing kind of just got into your head and fucked with the shit. And she's like, excuse me, what the fuck? She's like, bro, you like didn't tell me that being in there would like get things into my mind. And he's like, no, it's a good thing, you know, now you can understand other languages. And she's like, no. And I think, like, we talked about that earlier, but it is sort of just this interesting thing where, like, the Doctor doesn't have a great concept of, like, giving people a fair warning of what they're getting into, and just sort of, like, throws them into it, and it just sort of works out because writing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in many cases it doesn't work out, but yes.
I mean, it always fails eventually.
Well, yeah, and there's definitely sort of more times in non-TV show canon where it happens. It's just for the TV show to work, it has to work out.
Yeah. Can we talk about, like, and then the next thing he does is he tries to make it better, and kind of does and kind of doesn't with, like, the phone thing. Can we just admit that's magic and, like, bullshit? You can't tell me there's any way that works. It's a nice, interesting idea, but I'm just like...
And then he makes a joke about the phone bill. Who the fuck would enforce that?
Well, I was just, you know, my problem was like, how did he specifically have one that ported to that exact phone? Like, damn, bro, like, we live in 1 year and I can't even get, like, something, and everyone's always like, bro, do you have, like, this charger? And no one ever does. So the fact that he specifically had, like, a little thing for a 2005 Nokia phone, like, bruh.
Yeah. Maybe he got it. He saw Rose's phone and he got it in that 100-year gap when he leaves and then comes back in Rose.
Hey, don't you listen to the episode? He majored in jiggery pokery. That's all you need.
Yeah, I mean that's the sort of thing where it's just like, I don't really care. It's just a little hand wavy. Yeah, it just works for a nice little moment.
Like,
not really
also like the fact that, like, they repeatedly, like, joke about how the Doctor has, like, infinitely sized pockets. Then a dude gets fucking burned alive by the rays of the sun.
Yeah, that was sudden.
Yeah. And, like, the weird thing is like, the spiders are CGI, but I feel like if they did this now, the spiders wouldn't be CG. Like, it just kind of seems like them, like, flexing unnecessarily.
Yeah, that was something that I feel like didn't need to be CG.
I mean, it might have been cheaper just because of the way that the spiders are designed, but
yeah, they could probably afford better practical effects now. So I see what you mean, but back then it was probably just like, this is going to be like the big, like, all the bells and whistles episode,
Yeah.
might as well throw the things
We're gonna
in
burn
there.
the budget on this episode and make the rest of the CGI for the rest of the season look goofy as shit.
I mean, it's a miracle that everything else in the season looks looks as decent as it is, as weird of a sentence as that is, considering what they do here. But yeah.
This episode really is just kind of them like pulling their dick out and slapping it on the table, being like, "Look at this shit."
And I mean, it pulls off. Like, it's a very memorable episode just because.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's visual. I wouldn't say it's visually impressive because it's obviously very dated, but it's visually memorable, is what I'd say.
Yeah, no, I couldn't really I was kind of mixed during like the beginning and middle of the episode, but like by the end, like I was like, yeah, I like this episode.
And I told you that last week. I was like, I like this episode, and you were like, no, bad episode.
I didn't say it was bad. I just said it was kind of eh.
Hey, I think it's a good episode.
And yeah, no, I think it's a good episode too. I just missed a lot of the nuance when I was younger because I was an idiot when I was 12.
You see, I may have only liked it because it looked cool when I was 12, but my opinion was right for the wrong reasons.
Oh yeah. Also, when trying to guess who Rose is to the doctor, Tree Lady straight up calls Rose a prostitute in a family show. And Rose calls Cassandra bitchy in a family show.
I love that.
This is a family show!
Well, you can, if I remember the TV ratings correctly, like, you can say bitch in TV PG rating, so...
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
and also their rating is different too because they're on the BBC.
Yeah.
Which I do believe they are more lax there, especially if Torchwood is any guide to that. Oh boy.
Yeah, for the Brits, it's more like violence is more centered than like sexual or suggestive content, where in the US it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah. So yeah, this I do like. It's weird because I can kind of see that like it's lower budget and they're using it to they're using just like this random corridor in a building somewhere to stand in for this spaceship deck rather than like making their own set. But when they're kind of going through like the backstage of the station, I guess would be the best way to call it. I don't know why, I like the way that looks better than if they did it with Moffat and it was like a really like clean set or like a specially built set. Like I like that it looks kind of grungy and it looks more lived in and it looks a lot less perfect, I guess.
Yeah. It makes more sense because the rich guests aren't going to be back there and it's supposedly like automated and nothing can go wrong, so they don't have to upkeep it. So I'm there for it.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about how she knows what Time Lords are? Because that's an interesting evolution of the show where like it used to be that everybody kind of knew them as like this mythical thing, and depending on the writer, species or like the alien of the week will literally have like no idea what they are, or they'll be like, oh my god.
And that's and that's kind of a classic thing, and I think the Time War really changed that, and you see that in the Night of the Doctor especially, where Cass realizes that he's a Time Lord and is like, no, fuck this shit. So they clearly gain notoriety, I think, during the Time War.
More like infamy, yeah.
Yeah.
I also like, I mean, skipping ahead a bit, but later in the episode where he says that they lost the Time War.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just it's like an interesting bit of exposition, and it sort of builds on the Time Lord stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the moment like right after what we were talking about where they're just like, who is the owner of the blue box that's parked in the hallway?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, will the owner of the red Honda please come to the front desk?
It's a good mix of the normalcy.
Your lights are on.
and you see them towing it away, and he's just like, hey, be careful with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good joke. Also, I do like it's very subtle, but when uh Jabe, who I will refer to the tree lady from now on with her actual name because she deserves respect. Um, when she's talking to him and she reveals that she knows who he is, you can see him visibly tear up.
Oof.
Yeah.
And it's very subtle, but it's there. And that's a really good touch, I think.
Yeah.
In sort of, yeah.
It's interesting because she and this is kind of different from like later episodes where he has to explain what happened to his race, but she seems to know what happened,
Yeah.
or at least that the war has ended, and knows enough to like console
Yeah.
him. So that's interesting. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
just a product of like the future has better record keeping and knows what's going on more, but that was a nice touch,
Yeah.
especially since you're still trying to like slowly exposition build to like what he reveals at the end of this episode, but even then we learn more as things go on.
Oh, oh. To go back slightly a little, there was a line where he and Rose are having the argument about the translator microbes or the telepathic circuits or whatever they call it. That I think is very much a central premise of this season and by extension this Doctor, where when Rose is asking him questions and he's like, well, what does it matter? And he's just like, this is who I am right here, right now. All that counts is right now. He's very focused, hyper focused on the present and on moving forward because it's too soon for him to look back.
Yeah. And I think you sort of see that a bit in 11 too.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm remembering correctly, you
Yes.
see that a lot with him
No,
too.
no, that's very much a characterization of 11 too. But that's sort of more of a
He processes
starting.
it differently. It's like
Yeah.
he tries
It's
to be like continuously over energetic to deal with it, whereas 9 is sort of just like trying to be very present.
Yeah. And I think in 11's case it's more starting to realize his age, because 11 is at his core an old man trapped in a young man's body.
Oh yeah, and especially
And
because I think he's
yeah.
in terms of the Doctor's own personal timeline. I think
Also because he
11 is
knows.
the,
Also because he knows. This technically counts as a retcon, but also because he knows he's the last of his cycle, so he knows that when he dies, it's for good.
yeah, and also because I think if I'm remembering correctly, within the Doctor's own canon, like 11 is the longest one. He's the one that lives out the most.
Probably either 11 or one of the classics.
I'm pretty sure it's 11 because
It might be 11. No, well, you could make a case that it's technically 12 entirely because of Heaven Sent.
That's yeah.
yeah, but that's getting into semantics. We shouldn't argue about that.
and that's also 8 seasons from now. So
yeah,
We'll get there.
We can do an arbitrary argument about which Doctor lasted the longest within his universe canon.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the episode.
yeah.
What happened next? So
Yeah, well, Rose has the argument with Cassandra, and Cassandra has her little hashtag racism moment.
oh god, yeah.
And Rose calls Cassandra a bitchy trampoline, which
that
God,
line
what
is
a
so
fucking
good.
takedown.
You bitchy trampoline.
Based Rose.
I like how it's also a play on. I just realized it's also a play on tramp. It's also a play on tramp. I hadn't realized that before.
Nice. Yeah. And then that's when we get to the whole they go to the no, then it's revealed like what the plan is, and then the engine room thing happens. Yeah.
No, they don't know what the
plan is yet. First Rose
yeah,
gets
they
trapped
don't know,
in
yeah,
the
they don't
room.
know what the yeah, they don't know what
yeah.
the plan is yet. They find the spider.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they find the spider.
And then they figure out what the plan is because they rescue Rose. And I'm just, why would you? There's a couple questions here. One, why would you be able to manually lower the sun filters? I feel like that would be a bad idea.
It's
Secondly,
or-
I can't remember if it's here or at the climax of the episode where the window breaks, yet for some reason the oxygen is not sucked out and Rose doesn't asphyxiate to death.
No, the window doesn't break.
Yes, it does. The window breaks in one of these.
Doesn't it just
I don't
crack?
remember
I mean, to your point.
No, it actually breaks open.
Huh.
I swear to God, I'm not fucking crazy. I saw this like 30 minutes ago. It fucking breaks.
I don't remember that
Is it-
happening.
Yeah. Space magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Additional field, I guess. Just yeah.
It's also my other issue with it is that whole scene where the sun filter is slowly descending and Rose is like, no. It's very Bondian, like
Yeah.
the laser is slowly climbing up. Like
Yeah.
damn bitch. If assuming you had a sun filter that could go up and down, you would think that if for whatever reason they needed to lower and raise it, they would do so quickly and not at a fucking snail's pace.
Yeah.
It was just a very
was
silly moment, in my opinion.
if this episode was a classic episode, that scene where the sun filter is descending on her would have been an end of part cliffhanger.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's one of those. It's one of those things that's drama for drama's sake. There's no purpose.
Yeah.
They're not going to kill off Rose in the second episode of the introductory series. It would have been a ride if they did, but yeah, it wasn't going to happen.
Oh yeah, we also completely forgot to mention the adherence of the repeated meme.
Oh yes. So the or I guess sort of sock puppet antagonist of this episode.
The decoy antagonists.
Yeah. Repeat the name again.
Hold on.
Yeah, the adherence of the repeated meme.
That's right. 2005 RTD recognized the real future threat: memes.
All together, lads.
Based RTD.
God damn. It's just and then he has that line, a repeating meme is just an idea, and it's just like I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean, because something being a meme is literally
no, he's going by the original Richard Dawkins definition of meme, which is also the meme, the usage, the meaning when they say meme in like Metal Gear Solid 2 or Metal Gear Rising.
So I mean, what would a repeating meme then be then?
That's literally that's the idea of what a meme is it's like a gene, but it's an idea that's spread.
But yeah,
it's kind of mangled. But I get what he was going for.
I don't get it.
Our modern
In my
culture
opinion,
has screwed us, but yeah.
Yeah, we're expecting everything to be some elaborate shit post.
Also, I love how when even Cassandra like pulls out her extra plan and is like, "Welp, guess I'll die," she's like, "Planet's about to explode. At least it'll be quick, just like my 5th husband."
Hey! Everyone fucking claps.
Yeah.
Can we talk about her plan here for a second? It's so funny.
Yeah,
Like,
it's literally just an insurance ploy.
It's like the world's most expensive insurance ploy. She has stock.
Yeah.
She bought stocks in everyone's rival companies, and she's gonna have them all die to triple her profits.
Yeah, she's just committing insurance fraud. That's the entire plot.
And it's all to go towards her future operations.
No, it's not even insurance fraud. It's just like it's literally just it's insider trading is what it is. She's trying to force insider trading, and I think that's just a funny little thing. Like, damn, like you literally have some of the rich, like the setup is that it's the richest people ever. Did you really not think that they were gonna try to screw each other over? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the message of the episode, kinda.
Yeah. So then, okay, I like this episode. This set piece is stupid. The fan room is fucking idiotic. Why would you ever put controls on the other side of these fans? Why would you do that?
Okay, I'm gonna actually
plot.
I'm gonna buck against that because yeah, it's a stupid setup, but like the moment of like the fans in slow motion and the doctor like trying to sense that and like go through that, to me is like one of the cooler moments of the episode, and is like one of the reminders that the doctor is very alien. Like moments like that I really enjoy, where he can just like sense things differently. You get a little bit of it in Rose and in this episode. And probably my other favorite example is 12's first episode, where like he keeps dropping like the hair to like sense different things about the room.
No, and the thing though is they never do anything quite like that scene again. Like, he doesn't use that ability ever again in Revival, and it's just like,
oh, I agree.
It's this weird. It's like it's good, but I feel like it's kind of out of place.
Yeah, they don't use it enough, but yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to for some reason I got Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes from that. It sort of felt just like that sort of like mysticism aesthetic. I don't know why.
Yeah. Also, interesting thing, I saw a review that pointed this out, which the fact that the doctor lets Jabe sacrifice herself is something. It's a mark of change, because I don't think any classic doctor would have let her do that except for maybe 7. Like 4 would have just been like, no, and he would have come up with some different fucking insane plan.
I mean, I think, yeah.
Where were we?
We were about to talk about the most interesting part of the episode, where bitch dies.
Yeah. So, yeah, I like, especially as someone who's been watching a lot of 7, who similarly runs cold when he gets angry. I found this part to be, extremely interesting, because he walks in and he is pissed off. You can see it in his face. And he brings Cassandra back and basically tells her off and lets her die through desiccation, and like the way she dies is like the goriest possible way that she could die.
She fucking like the center of her explodes.
There is gore. There's
a sound effect.
It's like a
yeah.
You hear the pieces of her smack onto the floor.
Yeah. It is. Oh boy.
Yeah, we could really get philosophical
it is
here
something.
with.
I mean, because I've been the last few days I've been sort of complaining about the no guns thing that has. I mean, it's been present in and out throughout all of Doctor Who, but in the current iteration, it's being pushed a lot, and I think there's
well, I think it's specifically 10 and specifically 13 more than anyone else.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I would say there's a bit of it with 11. There's a bit of it with 11 and 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what 12 will do is he'll make like snarky comments, but 10 and 13 are the only one that are like, no firearm.
Yeah, and I think so I was sorry.
And again, that clip that I posted in the chat yesterday of 7 talking someone who's pointing a gun at him down. Like, you can tell that he's furiously angry, but he's more manipulative and calm than no gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was sort of complaining about the heavy-handedness of, especially in the new episode, where she gets mad at someone for using a gun in self-defense. Like, damn, bitch, calm down. And it feels like a very heavy-handed and stupid sort of political message. And I think it does go to show the difference between the Doctors, because this one's sort of just like, he sort of just stands there and it's just like, yeah, you're gonna die, bitch. Yeah. And then just like watches her die. And I think we were sort of getting into a bit of a debate about the morality of that. Like, he won't personally kill someone, but he'll let them die. And I was sort of making the argument that, like, there's not really a difference in that. It's just he doesn't want to feel the personal responsibility for it, even though he is personally responsible for it.
Yeah, no, and that does get raised, especially, again, to bring up my favorite, 7.
That's gonna be a meme.
Yeah, I know. Take a shot every time Jeff mentions 7. 7's whole shtick is he will manipulate other people to kill for him, and it gets worse in like the novels and expanded universe stuff, and they specifically mention that as him realizing that he is extremely disturbed by his own lack of morality.
Jesus.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least for 9, it comes across more as like and to a certain extent 10, when it's in the hands of a good writer, that it's more like he's against it because he's a shell-shocked veteran and he's literally experienced the worst the worst war that the universe has and will ever see. So it makes sense in that aspect.
Yeah.
And I do like, as I kind of mentioned before, that a thing with the Doctor that doesn't come up a lot but is present is that there's a natural order to things, and under different circumstances he might have saved someone like Cassandra, but the fact that she's been prolonging her existence for, I think she mentions like 2,000-ish years, although that might be an exaggeration on her part, that he's just like, everything dies. And it turns out, skipping forward to like a season later, not even that kills her. So
Yeah. But yeah, no, and also I think part of the reason why 13 is the way that she is because 13 is very explicitly like a new beginning. 12 explicitly tells her to be kind, and so she's very optimistic and very idealistic. Yeah. But yeah, I think sometimes the writers take that a little bit too far, like in that case where you mentioned, but I appreciate it. I just, there wasn't enough conflict for her to play off of. Like, it would be really interesting, we're completely off topic now, but it would be really interesting if they had a really dark, depressing 13 story, but the entire point is that she will not break her optimism no matter what.
yeah, it could work.
I would love for them to do something like that.
Yeah, I think the problem is where to me is when when there's a conflation between like character motivation and character, between like actual like theme and like story point, because you can make an interesting story being like, you shouldn't use violence, but like there are times it's kind of like not a nuanced theme, in my opinion. So it works well.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It works the best.
I agree.
When
yeah. No.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
So would you like to wrap up the episode?
Yeah, I really like this end scene. For one, I realize this is actually the first time we are mentioned that Gallifrey is gone, which I thought they did that in the first episode, but no, I was wrong. They didn't actually mention it until this one. And I really like this very sort of philosophical moment. It's like the perfect blend of sort of the higher philosophical moments of classic with the more emotional character moments of modern. The idea, just the line of, you'll think it'll last forever, people in cars and concrete, but it won't. One day it's all gone, even the sky. Like, that's really good.
Yeah, that's a good moment, especially with how like busy the surrounding background is. It's like a nice juxtaposition of what they're talking about and what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of like divorces him from the setting, and you're sort of, I think it's building on what he said in the last episode about how he's, sort of separate from everything and can't really feel involved with it, and you're sort of, I think that scene sort of builds on that, and you start feeling that way too. You start like to really feel and get like why he's that divorced from it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What was I gonna say?
I do like that he's open and
Having a
honest with
moment.
her kind of really quickly, and to my knowledge, like
Yeah.
11 is kind of like that eventually, and 12 is like that obviously with Clara, like right away, because they've known each other for a
Well,
while.
yeah, because Clara is literally there with 11 when he brings Gallifrey
Yeah,
back.
that's true. So we'll get there, but it is nice to
yeah.
see that, like, right off the bat, he's obviously very conflicted and heartbroken and carrying the weight of what he did, but he's willing to be honest with that to someone who's like probably like the first person he's really interacted with in this incarnation, which I think is nice.
Yeah, like I think obviously, I think we'll probably be talking about this very, very soon actually, but aside from a couple episodes, again, one which I'll be talking about pretty soon, I don't think this episode has too much filler, or at least when there is filler, it's paced very well with sort of the rest of the arc. Like, it is surprising to me that they have this depth of character and they're willing to go sort of this far in just the second episode of the series.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think, and they do this a lot too, where like a lot of the new companion episodes do not have the same depth that this one does, or at least their first trip, be it into the future or into the past. And I think to some extent, like, doing the same thing over and over again would get boring. But I guess after being used to a lot of other seasons later on down the show where it feels like there is some development and character stuff in a companion's first few trips, but it's still kind of fillery. The fact that this episode is very much not filler and has some very important kind of character moments interests me.
This is the first they drop the bad wolf thing very briefly. I think this is the first episode where they do that. They might do that in Rose, but for my money,
I don't think so.
I think it's this, where I think it's like the Mox of Balhoun, whatever his name is, the one that spits at Rose, like brings it up, but it's like, oh, this is the bad wolf such and such, and I'm like, hey. So like,
Where does he do that? I missed that. Oh, I see.
it's like it's a passing like panning shot.
Yeah, he just says this is the bad wolf scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, also, we forgot to mention about how Captain Jack Harkness makes his debut in this episode several episodes ahead of schedule. Fuck you, RTD. You're my favorite, but fuck you. That line was stupid.
Yeah. I'm still hoping for a return of Jack someday, but
yeah, my mom doesn't think it's gonna happen because he looks really kind of plastic surgery now.
I mean, yeah, but that would fit with Jack's vanity, so I kind of don't care, but I do agree.
Yeah. He's a little bit too old. However, I do think it is wasted potential that we, as far as I know, have not had, even in the expanded universe, a meeting between Jack Harkness and River Song. Like, how has that not happened? How has that not happened?
Aren't they
Would you like to explain what you mean by the first appearance of Jack Harkness, though? Because I don't know if everyone knows.
Oh yeah, the face of Bo is in this episode. There's a joke later on at the end of season 3 that Jack Harkness might be the face of Bo. Russell T Davies has never confirmed it. I consider it a troll, but I felt like I had to bring it up just for the memes.
I assumed it was canon, honestly, because I don't know, the line. It was a throwaway line, but it rather it was a pretty strong throwaway line.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He's never confirmed it though.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, like, he drops the line.
Like he has been asked straight up and has refused to confirm it.
Yeah. I mean, I read so much Doctor Who fanfic at this point, and virtually all of them confirm it, so I forget that it's not actually explicitly said. But I don't know. It's an interesting character design, is all that I'll say, and it kind of doesn't make sense, like how even if you're decapitated and can live forever, spoilers, I get it doesn't matter. Like.
Oh, okay. All right. I was wrong. They have actually basically said it. So what happened was on the commentary for the original episode where he says it, Russell T Davies is like, "Well, I don't know." But Julie Gardner's like, "Yes, the face of Bo is Jack Harkness." And then in a Torchwood special feature, John Barrowman, David Tennant, and Russell T Davies all say that the face of Bo is Jack Harkness.
Sweet.
So
there you go. It's canon.
Right for the wrong reasons.
Yep.
Go me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yippee. All right. So yeah, I guess that kind of wraps this episode up. Final scores?
I don't know. It's a fun episode. Doesn't have as much to say as the last one, but it's a fun episode. I'd say like 7.75.
Very precise. I like it.
Going by quarter system.
Yeah, I do think that this episode is not nearly as strong as Rose. However, I came away from it liking it a lot more and it standing out a lot more than it ever really did before to me. So yeah, I'd say it would be like a 7.5, 7, yeah, somewhere in there. I think it's a pretty damn good episode. Actually, you know what? No, I gave Rose a 9. I will give this episode an 8.
Cool. I'm kind of the same mind as Jeff with this one. It's not the most impressive. It doesn't do the most amazing things, but looking at it with context about how it's continually building the Doctor and Rose and kind of setting up the headspace that this Doctor is in, what's happened with his people, and just kind of having like a, fun throwaway gags with Cassandra and the iPod, quote unquote iPod. I don't know. I'd give.
Yeah, I want to find. There better be a GIF out there of 9 bobbing his head to Tainted Love. I want that.
I've seen it. It exists somewhere.
Oh, good. Okay.
So yeah, I'd probably give this. I'd probably give it a solid B using my own system, so basically an 8. So yeah, that's where I come down on that.
Yeah. All right. So next week we will be covering Rose's first journey into the past with The Unquiet Dead, which I am expecting to be a thoroughly mid-episode because it is written by the middest of modern Doctor Who writers, Mark Gatiss.
Not as based. Definitely not as based.
Nowhere near as based.
I had mostly forgotten about this episode, and I saw the preview, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I just remember it being completely forgettable and boring, so we'll have fun.
Yeah, that's standard Gatiss. Yeah. Yeah. And then, I don't know, I think for 2-parter episodes, we should just do one longer episode covering both. I think splitting them up into one a week not only doesn't make sense, it will make me want to claw my own throat out.
Is this a 2-parter?
No, but the story after The Unquiet Dead is...
is that the...
That's the Slitheen.
Yeah, it's this...
Oh, okay.
Oh, boy, yeah. But that's 2 weeks in the future. And this should probably be... Well, okay. So if you're listening to this show right when it launches, we'll have 2 episodes ready to go at launch. But after that, we will be settling most likely into a 1-a-week schedule for the foreseeable future, even if we double up and make an extra long episode for two-parters. But yeah,
Yeet.
we will see you next time in our ongoing journey through time and space. I'm Jeff. My Twitter is @WheatleyDL.
I'm Avery, and my Twitter is @BigGavery.
And I'm Skyler. My Twitter is @SkyHigh9_5.
And you were listening to the Back to the TARDIS podcast. We'll see you next week.